Wherever you are, welcome to our Capital Talk Show that comes to you every Sunday on your television network, Lolwe TV. Now, we want to discuss, we want to give you insights, we want to do analysis, we want to do news and reviews of what has been trending in the Kenyan political grapevine. As for now, we know so well that William Ruto and Joshua Arap are now off the hook temporarily at the ICC. With me to discuss all these things and give more input and shed more light into it, I've got two gentlemen here with whom we've been doing this program, and they've been ably giving us analysis on what is happening in Kenyan political grapevine. My name is Nick Okello. Welcome, Mr. Samson Oje, to the program once again.
Thank you very much.
Welcome again to the program, Mr. Antony Jaragenya. And please, we'll begin by what was supposed to be the biggest verdict of William Ruto, Joshua Arap ICC case. Yesterday, we watched and listened to the judges deciding that they are not going to use again the recanted evidences. This has some very heavy bearing on this case. Maybe to begin with, what would be your take as far as the case is concerned?
I think, Nick, because this case touches on one deputy president, and deputy president is in Jubilee Party, I think it would be fair for me to give Oja a chance first to take it on. This is his deputy party leader.
I think we are discussing about case in ICC, not in Jubilee Party.
Not in Jubilee Party.
Yes.
However, there's no problem. Maybe they have the honor to begin.
No, actually, to me, that one shows is an indication that that is a political court. That is number one, and that's what I'm seeing. Number two is that because you know also my background, apart from the political party where I belong to, I'm coming from the civil society. It is actually a blow to the civil society, because this thing I've been saying several times. When the witness number 4 in the present case, witness number 11 and 12, they are the same thing which happened. That some people were saying that some witnesses were being coached and all that. But in fact, from the civil society point of view, we refused actually to bring out to create a platform whereby we to ask ourselves what went wrong. Now this thing is coming out very clear, so that to me, I'm saying that is a plus to Ruto, simply because now we are seeing actually chances are very high that maybe he will be a free man very soon.
Well, a free man, he says, but now let's look at the magnitude of the case. Has it been weakened substantially by this ruling, or it's going to have another dimension?
I think the prosecutor Bensouda was trying to make her case stronger by bringing in the witnesses that recanted their testimonies. One thing which is very clear, and the stand that our party and the party I support have always said, that they never participated in or organized in the killing of people from a particular tribe. That is always our stand, and it's coming out very clearly that those who tried to fix Ruto are realizing that the case are becoming weaker and weaker. And our stand has always been that the people in TNA, and particularly PNU, should come out clearly and tell us that, look, we made a mistake, we tried to fix this guy, it's not working, we want to withdraw the case, and so that William Ruto can be free. And that has always been our stand. Politically, I know we are not in the same team, but our stand has always been that William Ruto is innocent, and son is innocent. So depending on what the PNU and particularly TNA, the witnesses they took to Hague to fix Ruto have said, for us, we know William Ruto is free.
I think Jaragenya, you are not right there, because I'm talking about the civil society. All along, you remember even the other time when people were going to ICC, led by Aaron Dumbi and some other people, went there to tell the state parties what should be done. I think you can remember that. PNU and any other party you're talking about was not there. So let us be honest. Actually, when we're dealing with some of these are serious issues, and that is an allegation which you cannot substantiate. The civil society have now actually, we know from Kenya National Commission on Human Rights what they did in terms of witnesses and all that. So we are not talking about PNU here and all that. And maybe sometimes I've realized that Jaragenya like this politicking in each and every topic we bring in this platform.
Indeed politicking, yes. But then you said at the beginning that politically speaking, this case has had some particular bearing on you people as the Jubilee side of the of Kenya. Now, this case has been a problem. Uhuru Kenyatta's case actually went under because there were no proper evidences that were arraigned in court. Now we are seeing William Ruto's case also taking the same pattern.
Yes.
Now,
Nick,
is it that it was all Sarkaz that was taken to the ICC?
Nick, as much as Oja is saying that politicizing the whole thing, we know in 2013, particularly Rift Valley,
2013.
The clarion call was the party leader, ODM party leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, is actually taking Ruto to Hague. And that was the clarion call. And that was the campaign. It was never about economic issues of the land. It wasn't about the judicial process. No, it was Raila took Ruto to court. And now what is coming out very clear? That was never about the Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. That it was just hold.
Yes.
That this thing was a concoction of people in PNU and who are majority in TNA, and was come. In fact, Moses Kuria is very clear, and he's come out very clearly and said, "Look, this was our work, and we are saying now, please let that guy go free."
I want to say this.
Now let's go back to
the clarion call. Let me start with that clarion call. The reason as to why there was a claim that Raila took Ruto to ICC. He never took it. He never took him there, literally. The action was, the reason as to why we had post-election violence, the bottom line is that, the party which Raila and Ruto were together, in fact, they were there to form the government. The people were fighting because of the result. Ruto was not fighting for Raila to become deputy prime minister.
Yeah.
Ruto wanted to become number 2. Where did Ruto find himself? He was a minister of agriculture. Am I right? Then when what they got in the name of in the name of ministry and all that were just some ministry there, but the other party took almost everything.
I think
so. Literally, no. A minute. Let me just finish. Actually, we are not in a hurry. Literally, Raila never took Ruto to ICC.
You concur?
Yeah, literally. But in fact, in action, that is actually what you're talking about, clarion call. People were saying that you are the leader. People were fighting for you. Then you start negotiating things which actually cannot make us go to State House. And that's why I'm telling you, that confusion is there to stay with Raila Amolo Odinga. Yes, the ICC will go.
That's why we're spending so much time to explain it to people.
Yes.
And that's why we come to the national TV.
Yes.
Like Lolo, to explain it to people. Look, guys, that case was political. The people who concocted evidence were people of PNU, which you did not belong to PNU.
I did not belong to PNU.
And the majority of those people in PNU are now in TNA where you belong. And we're saying, look, that was not the case. The case was there was fighting. And Ruto was not fighting to be number 2. He was fighting because election in 2007 was stolen. And it was a principal fight. It was not even a physical fight. It was a stand for something.
If it was not stolen, Ruto would be number 4 or number 3.
No,
Ruto,
it was very clear. It was very clear.
The reason, and I said
Raila Amolo Odinga had actually said that his running mate was going to be Musalia Mudavadi, and that was very clear. In fact, Ruto was very clear. He said it.
My friend.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think you are trying to change history.
No.
You
go check your clips.
Of course, Mr. Ojiayo, Raila's running mate in 2017 was Musalia Mudavadi.
Yes.
That was the truth of it.
Yes.
I remember William Ruto was supposed to come up for a position of a prime minister, which that wasn't there actually.
Yes.
Well, they hoped they were going to create it when they are in power. It never actually happened. Now, what you're asking? Let's go back to the discussion.
Yes.
I want us to zero in on exactly now what this ruling will have in terms of the bearing. What does it have politically speaking about the politics of Jubilee? Let me talk about Jubilee because it's now Jubilee that is affected with this. Now, does it now make Jubilee bolder? Does it give them enough time to now put their house in order? Does it actually exonerate them from the bad doings? Or what do you think?
What I'm saying, our house was in order it will be in order whether ICC is there or not.
Yeah.
Because because these are Ruto's case as an individual. It's not Jubilee case. Our house is in order. In fact, we are not. We are not even in wrangles. So I don't know what kind of order you are trying to bring in. We are in order, only waiting for that whistle, which will actually for 2017, which will take us to 2022. That's what we are waiting for.
For me, let's go back to the case. The fact that the judges at the ICC have said, now look, we are not going to use the recanted evidence. And I think in itself, from what Bensouda said, that look, if those recanted evidence are not used, the case becomes weaker.
Yes.
If the case becomes weaker for us, it actually exonerates us. What we've always said, in ODM, we never organized people to go and fight.
You never fixed Ruto.
No, we never organized people to go and fight a particular tribe or that kind of stuff, because that's what Ruto is being charged for. Yeah, because we're saying, look, if Ruto really organized for the killing in Rift Valley, we in ODM should have known. And we have always said we did not participate. And if ODM did not participate, that means even Ruto at that time who was in ODM, he did not participate. And because we have always asked, what happened in Mombasa? There was violence. There was violence in Kisumu. There was violence in Nairobi. Who organized? It cannot be loaded on one particular person. But we know that some witnesses have died. We know that some witnesses have recanted their whatever they said because of intimidation. And that's why some people are actually in court for interfering with the witnesses.
But the question, number one, I want to agree with you that Ruto did not organize actually the killing. I agree. But also there's I remember my lecturer in tort law told me sometimes that it is better to leave a criminal walking free than putting an innocent person in custody. So what we are saying, even as we are seated here, there must be somebody who is liable as far as the killings are concerned. But we cannot use that to fix somebody. Somebody must be liable. Who is this person? So it goes back to the people who started in terms of investigation and doing that. When the Ocampo came here, he met with some other people. Did he meet the right people to give him the right people? Now, again, you are talking about the people who have died and all that. The same people. Remember, the witnesses were not left. The people who need to explain, number one, the people who died and how they died, because they were under protection. If these people were left at large, that court also needs to tell us why these people were left at large, because there's a budget for that. The state parties give this court money to protect the witness. So if some people died, because to me, still, I take them as allegation. But again, about the people who recanted cases, I cannot say that they were intimidated. They were intimidated. If you are maybe taken out of this country, maybe you are in South Africa, or how did somebody know that this person was in South Africa? Those people who took them under that protection needed to explain, why did these people die, and when did they die, and how did these people get information?
We can also run away from the fact that there has been a lot of intimidation,
yes,
by African leaders to the court.
Intimidation,
yes, and that tells you when we go for African Union meeting, our head of state go for African Union, and the clarion call is, let's get out of ICC.
With reasons,
and most of the time, the head of states who are so much in front fighting for this, their names are actually tainted from ICC. For example, Museveni, the case was taken to ICC, and Uganda was found to be liable, and they were supposed to pay Congo a lot of money. They were actually found guilty for getting into Congo, causing a lot of harm to the people, and they were actually found guilty. And that is a person who have been saying, no, let's get out of Hague. Okay, look at somebody like Uhuru Kenyatta. He is a guy who we know was actually in court. We know what happened. He's the one now leading the clarion call for African countries to get out of Hague. But let's say we get out of Hague or get out of ICC. what happens to African countries? In fact, that is the only court that most head of state fear the most.
Okay, now going by that, I'd love to discuss something on that. Just recently at the AU summit meeting of head of states, we had African countries threatening to move out of ICC en masse if William Ruto's case would go on the way it was going on. Now that this ruling has come out, do you think they're going to soften their stand on this?
The issue here is not whether softening their stand.
Yeah.
Actually, we need to create a platform or a rule which each and every state party need to follow it. It's not about, actually, we are not looking for a prefect to look for leaders of Africa. I'm not saying that we do not have rogue leaders in Africa. We have them. But Western world are not success story. America is not a success story as far as actual issues of democracy is concerned. But you see, there is a mindset which they've created as if they're the prefect of the world. You get the point? They've done wrong things. Actually, they're destroying these Arabic countries. And we all know that. They killed Gaddafi here for no apparent reason. And that is a serious nation which we needed actually to learn the Jamaica system. How actually Gaddafi took that country from poverty in a desert, and in fact that was a middle class country, and actually the kind of wealth actually that guy created there. So that's what I'm simply saying. We are not looking for a court which is going actually to behave as if there is a perfect for African leadership. And I agree.
But Samson, Kenya read this thing through. Kenya domesticated the Rome statutes.
I agree.
Everything was done properly.
I agree.
And we can't say that Kenya is there by default.
Remember Jaragenya before you say something.
Just a minute.
Yes.
Just a minute.
Yes.
The question here that we must keep asking is that when Kenya was doing this agreement, when Kenya was signing into being part of the Rome Statute, they read this thing through the very many structures that the government has, and they saw and found it very, very, very
and
essential.
We took it to Parliament.
I agree.
We took it to Parliament.
I agree.
The parliamentarian accepted it.
Why change of heart? Why change of heart, gentlemen?
It is like that because remember, even in the late 50s, early 60s, there was a clarion call in this continent that Africa needed to actually have independence. You get that? And there were some blocks where Bonrevia, Casablanca, and all around that. I remember, take for example Kenya. What took Kimathi is with this team in that cold environment in Nyandarua was not actually so that some of us would go to Lancaster to borrow some funny document. I call it funny document because the reason as to why we've not actually realized what we wanted is because of the foundation which we started from Lancaster. You get the point? And that is what Kwame Nkrumah was saying and Patrice Lumumba, that Africa will not be free. I cannot talk about how Ghana has gotten independent. It will only be there when actually, including Congo, Kenya, and any other part of Africa is independent. And they are talking about unification of Africa. We got it wrong.
So, let me tell you something.
Nick,
you brought something very sensitive of African Union.
Yeah.
You know, when most of these presidents were in the meeting in Addis Ababa, they talked so much about ICC, but no one mentioned about Burundi. And the killing is taking place in Burundi.
Yes.
So it is never about the African common mwananchi. It's about how the leaders can preserve themselves. When they realize the ICC is actually coming too close to their skin, then they have to do away with it. I wish in African Union they would have said, hey, Nkurunziza, you either stop the violence or we are coming for you. There was no clarion call like that. The clarion call was about ICC, we need to bring it down, we need to do away with it. Indeed.
Bujumbura right now is in a mess.
I agree.
It wasn't a serious item at the AU summit recently.
I agree.
I think Mr. J, Patrice Lumumba you mentioned and the rest that the Kwame Nkrumah had something that all of us should have been cherishing right now. I agree. But it's not there. Look at Bujumbura. Look at Burundi the way it is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's happening because of this borrowed platform which actually we are trying to make them look better.
So in your opinion, what is the solution?
That's why the solution is like, I agree that we have rogue president in this country, that in this continent. That much I agree. But what I'm simply saying, if we are creating a code for the states, it need to be actually the reason, the way you want to look at actually Kenya, you need actually to use it in actually in France and in America. But here's a case whereby
some of them are refusing
to become secret.
Are you aware that George Bush, the former president of America, cannot go to UK because they told him, if you come, we will take you to Hague. They told him that is the former president of a superpower nation.
The former president.
Yes. And the Americans have never said anything. In fact, it is Bush who quietly, he was supposed to launch his book in UK, quietly refused to go to UK because they told him, if you come here, we'll take you to Hague.
Okay, now, as we end up the first session, please, it's imperative that the viewers get to understand the dimensions that we are in. Just in one word, is Bensouda weakened right now in terms of evidence, or she's got something that she can still pull?
I think the case is somehow weakened. However, it is not over until it is over.
No, still, actually, this in the court, it's about the prosecutor to prove that to the court that in fact the person is accusing is liable. So the ball is in Bensouda, but I'm seeing her actually being weakened day in, day out. So I think, to me, I'm only seeing it's a matter of time. That case to me is going to collapse.
It's nearing the end.
Yes.
Thank you, viewers, wherever you are. Don't go away. This is the Capital Talk Show. And now when we come back, we want to know if indeed these evidences that have been always challenged, that they were not properly actually collected, are really the same case. Because people have been calling about talking and asking questions. Do we have credible evidences of the ICC to nail suspects on these crimes against humanity? This will be discussed in the next session as we come back. Please don't go away. This is LTN. Welcome, viewers. If you are meeting or you are joining us right now, we are just beginning now the session, second leg of it, and because it's very interesting, it's becoming so juicy to understand if indeed the ICC and the way we see the cases go step by step, weakening day by day, just like Samson says, is an evidence of non-proper work done in terms of evidence collection. I want us to get this. Is the prosecution office of the ICC on trial on the way they take and get their evidences, especially the Kenyan case?
I think the evidence collected was proper, and I think it was enough to put somebody.
The evidence was
yes,
proper.
Yes. Collected
and was tight enough.
Was tight enough.
Yeah.
To take somebody behind bars. However, last week we were here and we discussed something about stepping aside and allowing investigation to take place. And I explained that the reason people step aside to allow investigation to take place or prosecution to take place, so that they do not interfere with the case that is going on. We know that we had the president, who was actually one of those who had been charged in the ICC. We had the deputy president, who had been charged in the ICC. It comes out very clear that if the very people who are charged are actually the one who are charged in ICC are the one who are in charge of our internal security, they are in charge of the
entire country.
Country, and they do not lack the funds. Even if I was the one, I would try to interfere so that my skin is saved.
Even if you're the one. Jeff, the question is, do you now concur that the evidences that were used before the ICC court were not credible enough, they were not tight enough to sustain a case?
They were not tight enough, because even as we are talking, some witnesses are there. The only thing that Bensouda was looking for, the people who would help her to fix. You get the point? That is now the problem here. The people who recanted their cases. The only thing which you are saying, for example, I keep on giving the example of witness in Uhuru Kenyatta case, witness number 4, day in, day out, because I know the person, a person we've worked with.
You know the person. You know the person.
Yes, I know the person.
Yeah.
I know the person. He knows my family. He has slept in my house several times. is a personal friend who is not a Mungiki. And people from civil society who knew him that is not a Mungiki gave him a chance to lie to the world, to destroy a case. Get the point?
Did he confess to you that he lied?
He lied.
He confessed to you?
I'm telling you, he lied. Some are details. Because I've said it several times, if you look at Okello and ICC in YouTube, you'll find all these facts. And I told the case, this is bullshit. It's a lie. And so many people have said that. Now, why can't you pick that one person as a case study? And then we ask ourselves, what went wrong? That one does not mean that somebody did not do anything. Somebody is liable in this case. But because of Kenyan way of doing things, that when I want to fix you, even if you are being told, you are only running up and down so long as actually what you want. Now we take Kenyan idea into ICC. You get the point? So there were no evidence. When Ocampo came here, I think he met with the people who actually only wanted to fix Uhuru Kenyatta and the rooters of this world. That's what they meant.
Only that?
Yes.
Now, let's now come to the very sensitive question. You just said somebody must be liable here.
Yes.
Because there are Kenyans who suffered atrocities, crimes, things that you can't even mention. This set of people, these Kenyans, where are they supposed to go for their rights now? Because if this case collapses, goes on and then
the victims,
where are they? Who will cry for them? Who will ask questions on their behalf?
That is another thing.
What do we do here?
That is another thing.
Nick, we are in a very sad situation, in a very sorry state of affairs. If the case collapsed and the way they started collapsing, and the trends, how the witnesses were dying, some of them were dying, some of them were disappearing, some of them were recanting their evidence. One would ask, it can, and we have a case that we've had in this country when Dr. Uko passed on. And we know how systematically people were disappearing and people were dying, basically being killed. Even a young boy who was just herding, him also disappeared. A household disappeared. And that trend, we've seen it in this particular case. You don't need to be a genius to just compare the two. If I'm innocent, and Nick, you tell me, no, Antony, you were involved in killing of people in town, and so many people have died. So and you accuse me for that, and I'm truly innocent. And you insist that I'm guilty, I'm the one who is involved. Surely the court have mechanism of separating who is innocent and who is guilty.
So in this case, victims.
And the other fact is, if I decide you've accused me and I know you are lying, why should you disappear? I should face you in court and prove myself.
I get your concern. It's even getting complicated when people just disappear and
yes.
Others disappear, others remain victims with permanent scars in their hearts.
You asked about the victim.
Yeah.
Number one, we are talking about the law here. We must follow the legal channel. Even if the court wanted to compensate the victims, number one, they had to follow the legal channel. Like, for example, if today one of my family dies, the first thing I must go for is the death certificate. Where do you get it? The only government in that place to provide for you that document. The question now comes in, the victims or the people who died, do their next of kin have that document known as death certificate? I don't know, because nobody is talking about it.
To do what now?
Yes, but now how do you want to compensate somebody who actually is being alleged? You know, it's just being alleged, because if you have a document which can say that Jaragenya is dead, actually, which is a government document, then you can say, even you can access the bank account. Even if I'm dead now, and my wife, and everybody knows that somebody is my wife, she cannot go and claim anything in the bank. So what I'm simply saying, you want to compensate the victims. That's a very important thing, even though people are ignoring it. Now, after finishing case, let's say that now somebody is liable and we want to compensate them. Now we want actually maybe to attach the property of the person who is accused to the victims. Is that the way they need to do it? Now, who is going to do what and at what time? Because if Jaragenya is claiming that maybe his brother died, he must produce that what? The death certificate. We were politicking, but instead of also going to court and doing the right thing, we refuse to do it. So even as we are talking now, the victims are still vulnerable.
And Nick, you can clearly see, and Ojia is very right, that we are very busy politicking and we've basically forgotten the victims. And I'm happy Ojia is in a party that is actually in government and is actually the ruling party. Ojia have accepted in front of the camera that all they have been doing is politicking. Because the document
I've not said
document is saying that should be provided.
The government was not representing the victims.
I kept quiet while you were talking.
Hold on, sir.
Hold on, record right.
Hold on, sir. Jaragenya, please have your say. Have your say.
And Ojia is very clear and is very right. He's saying, look, those people who died, their brothers or sisters should actually have a death certificate. Who provided the death certificate? It is the government. Who is the ruling party now? It is Jubilee. Who belongs to that ruling party? It's Ojia.
I want to say this, Nick.
That we have been so busy doing politics
rather
than doing the administrative work of the government.
Jaragenya to finish that statement.
That's why I'm telling you. That's why I'm telling you. This whole thing has been choreographed.
Yeah.
To help
I want to say
Jubilee
this.
survival
Remember,
by not doing the right thing.
Nick, remember,
Jubilee survival mechanism.
remember,
Yeah.
Jaragenya have just said that some people have been disappearing.
Yeah.
The government, that was not actually Jubilee government then. It was actually the coalition government by that time. First of all, these people were not even allowed to come closer, even to know the victims' names. You remember? Knowing them is like you are threatening their lives. So, people are politicking. It's not about, because when you are giving the, how do you call this guy? Not the other, Ocampo. You are giving them actually some evidence and all that. Why did you actually organize on how also to ask Ocampo? Even though we are going, some people are liable and maybe they are going, some will be acquitted and some will be in, and now the question...
Ojia, it's very clear that we know somebody like Mzendege, who lost eight of his children.
Yes.
So he's a victim.
He's a victim.
Yeah.
Yes.
But do you know we are talking about so many people here?
Yes,
now that is the question.
So many people.
Now that's the question, Mr. Jia.
Yes.
The question that I want you guys to answer.
And I can tell you, Nick.
Yes.
The question I want you guys to answer is only one. How do they then get
Get what?
their fare of care, their care of compensation, whatever it is, because this guy actually
goes back
suffered.
to two people.
Somebody
goes back to two people.
Somebody like Mr. Ndege actually lost the entire family.
It goes back to
can
two
tell
people
you.
here.
Yeah.
Jubilee has been very busy distributing money and land to the IDPs. Have you heard that somebody who lost almost eight of his family members, Mr. Ndege, has been given even a coin?
But what I'm saying...
Now, this is a question I'm asking here. What mechanisms do you have?
Because
how is our country going to help our Kenyans who are victims?
Remember, ICC came for the people who are maybe liable for that, cases. But remember, we were also asking to have a local kind of mechanism. It's like now, if we deal with the local, we've not rejected it because actually this is a nation. This thing can happen even tomorrow and any other day. But you see, we've stopped what we are supposed to be doing here. All of us, we are only looking at ICC. That is the problem. It's Kenyan problem. The only problem is that Jaragenya is looking for a place whereby he want to put that blame. That's why now keep on, resonating around, Jubilee and all that,
Yeah.
No, I cannot put on a blame.
We know. Antony, is it true that now we can now go back and come back to our senses and think of the local mechanism of wanting to find who actually should
and
be
who are the we?
compensated?
What do you mean by we? Who are the we now?
I'm talking about Kenya, because Kenya took itself to the ICC. Now, have we realized now it would have been better to be here and do it locally than go to the ICC, because it's our own fuss now?
The old ICC, taking those actually giant to ICC to me was not a mistake, because doing it here was a problem. But what I'm saying, we needed actually a local mechanism, because remember, the person who stole your cow, we are only talking about the person who facilitated. This person is at large. What do you think that this person cannot actually do the same thing? Because we are only dealing with the people who facilitated.
It's clear that the country made a mistake. The leadership of the country made a mistake by not prioritizing the victims' issues. It is true you had neighbors who, one stole somebody's cow, one actually burned somebody's house, and nothing was done. How I wish that something was done then. And I can tell you, I feel very disappointed with most of our leaders. Some of them are in Jubilee, most of them are in Jubilee, and some of them are in the party. And how I wish that we had a mechanism of correcting this. And how I wish that we also learned from Rwanda, where they decided, look, let's do this thing with the village, the African way. So that we say, well, now, what did you do? And the guy explains himself, and then asks for forgiveness from his neighbor. So that these things is done amicably, and people solve these things, even at the village level, so that you know really what happened, and somebody has come out and say, yes, this is what I did, and have actually asked for forgiveness. This did not happen, and it is very unfortunate.
Jaragenya brought a very good scenario here. I remember I was among the 7 people who took Kiplagat to court, because actually being a chair of Truth, Justice and Coalition. You remember TJRC. And the reason as to why we took him to court, because that old man, yes, I need to respect him because of age, but in fact he represents the old order in thinking and action. And exactly the reason as to why we are taking him to court, after the report I've made, now what are the answers? What are we seeing? Is exactly, if you read actually our petition which we took to court, it's the same. And that's why we are saying, I remember asking that if Mrs. Ouko now comes and want to ask you a question between Kiplagat, because I'm not saying that he was accused, but in fact it's like now he knew something. Now I asked him, there was a time I asked him that, are you going to step aside so that this lady can ask a question? So what we're really saying, Kenya needed a platform whereby we speak truth and justice, then we reconcile. Truth, justice, and reconciliation was a very important thing. But what did we do? We take the same person with the old order and old thinking to come and actually share this serious platform. Now that is where we are saying Kenya, as we are talking, is like now we are not ready actually to move.
And
we have gatekeepers.
And we are in a sad situation because we have tried ICC, and the ICC case seems not to be helping us. ICC court seems not to be helping us. We did not try the local tribunal, and when even the commission is talking about, did not give us the answers.
Yeah.
The answers. In fact, left us with more questions.
Yeah.
I pray that we strengthen our institutions, and that is the judiciary, which Jubilee have always flouted, the legislative function, the legislature, which I think right now is a rogue parliament, and the executive, which is now shrouded in a lot of corruption. How I wish that we strengthen this institution so that they can work for the people, so that we don't have a situation where people go and fight and then nothing happens.
Samson, just your word before we now switch the gears and get into tomorrow's kickoff of the voter listing. We have to talk about that in a few minutes before I'm told that the time is almost over. Please tell us. We just says the institutions are so weak, from the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and everything is so weak. Do you concur with that?
I'm saying this way. After 2010, we have actually different kind of independent, institutions, and with Willie Mutunga as the Chief Justice, that's a whole president of that court, judiciary. I don't know where Jubilee is coming in, because in fact,
Jubilee is
can
coming
you just
in.
allow me?
Jubilee is coming in
Can
because right
me?
now, as you're speaking, as we're speaking,
Yes.
a case has been decided that Joho's business in Mombasa should be open, while the executive have sent police to stop that.
What I'm saying,
Yes. So
if
that
you
is
allow
what we
me,
call interference
if you allow
with
me to
judiciary.
finish what I wanted
Okay,
to say,
go ahead.
Please finish because of
Yes,
time.
that's
Please
what
finish
I'm
because
saying.
of time.
That it's not about Jubilee. These are independent, and which body with his own president, which is Willy Mutunga, is not actually Uhuru Kenyatta in quotes. All these people who are in these courts were vetted, and in fact, our president is not actually even giving them money. They have their own money from a different account. They are operating that. So what I'm simply saying, the institutions are not weak per se. The individual within the institution
Are the
are
problem.
the people who are representing the old order which I was talking about. That Kenya is moving. But as at now, the people who are vetted, I said it last time when we were in this program, are the same people who do not believe in those changes.
And Nick, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces is none other than
We are not
His Excellency
in war,
Uhuru
actually.
Kenyatta. The person who sent
We are not-
the
Gentlemen,
person
I know
who
this
sent
was-
the police officers to block.
Yeah.
A court has already decided, the judiciary have already decided, please let those business be open. The commander-in-chief, whom we are now blaming, send his police officers to block that court order.
I mean, this blame can't get
There
to
is
an
an
end. It can't get
interference.
to an end.
Did you-
I mean, ladies, sorry, gentlemen. Can we now go now to tomorrow's voter listing? What can you tell Kenyans? It's just kicking off for exactly 1 month. And we've seen both sides of the divide. Jubilee urging its members to come out in large numbers and register. CORD has done the same for its supporters. Now, what would you say for this? It's just a minute that we are supposed to be sharing here.
I think it's a good thing. Let them go out so that they register, because a serious citizen need to participate in his own election. And I think everybody, it's a clarion call the way you're using. Let me use your word. So that everybody need to come out, and especially I'm urging Jubilee members to come out, because we want actually Uhuru Kenyatta to go for his last term, so that maybe when he's handing over to Ruto, it would be
handing over, or Ruto winning the elections and taking over president.
No, he will win the election come 20.
Okay, he will
but we
win
are dealing with the
okay.
2017 now.
You go on with your point for
Yeah,
the
so
voter listing.
so that's what I'm saying. It's a good idea. Let actually people come out in large number,
Yeah.
so that they can be registered as voters.
Okay.
Yes.
Your last word in terms of voter listing?
And I think the viewers, you are aware, been very much involved in ID registration of people, and I've always told you that it's important that all of us as citizens who have national ID to participate in the registration or as a voter, so that you decide who to lead you. It's very unfortunate if you don't make that decision, because by not voting or by not registering as a voter, you're actually letting somebody whom you don't like to lead you and to direct the nation. We are in a very sorry state as a country. We need to come out and register as a voter. And remember, you can register as a voter even with a waiting card. I know so many people who have registered to get their ID. It has taken some of them 8 months, some 7 months to get those ID. But with that waiting card, you can still get the you can still be registered as a voter. So the delay in the ID issuing, we can ask Jubilee to fix that.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, it's been wonderful having you guys here. It's been quite an informative debate. I wish that this program takes us to the next level in terms of thinking. I also hope that this program will also define for us what the future is supposed to be for Kenya, because we are here to actually share these ideas day in, day out. And please, as a viewer, always make it a point to join us every Sunday at 8, so that you may get to hear what is happening in Kenya, what is trending in the political scene, and everything that is supposed to be talked about in a very bold and candid way. This is the Capital Talk. I had with me Mr. Antony Jaragenya and the Jubilee stalwart.
Yes.
Samson Ojayo in the house. Anyway, it's a pleasure. I want to say that being with you is always nice, and we wish that the time I was guaranteeing us, we would have been here for the longest period ever, but we must stop there, unfortunately. Next week is going to be another chance. Please stay tuned to LTN. I'm Nick Okello.